This might be one of the realest things ever said in my comment section. Consistency leads to structure. This statement is so true because the further that I go with life, the more that I begin to recognize that structure, or the lack thereof, is just another way to understand your lifestyle. And a big reason why people don't understand wellness is because they don't understand it within the context of their lifestyle. See, wellness is an intentional set of decisions to live an ideal lifestyle. You're trying to structure your life a way where you personally enjoy it. Your ideal. Wellness is an intentional set of decisions to live an ideal lifestyle. The reason why wellness is intentional is because happiness is intentional. Nobody is unintentionally happy. All right? If people were, then you wouldn't have a toxic ex, or you wouldn't be the toxic ex. If people were unintentionally happy, then we would just go about our business and we wouldn't worry about the things happening to us because it doesn't have any impact on how we're going to show up to the situation, which is really how you want to manifest things. But you have to get to that point. In order to get to the point where it's natural like that, you have to train your brain to think in that way, you know? And human nature, we're wired to do things that lead us towards happiness. We're motivated to do that. That's why we can look for happiness in other people. That's why we can look for happiness in substances. That's why we can look for happiness in things that are ultimately fleeting and material. But the point is, people intentionally do things towards happiness because wellness is an intentional set of decisions to live an ideal lifestyle. It's a set of decisions. It's not just one thing you're doing. It's what you're doing with consistency, or a lack of consistency. A lack of consistency is also consistency. It's consistency towards disharmony. That's what it is, all right? So you're making these set of decisions on a daily basis, on a moment by moment basis. Every time that you do something, you're making a decision. Accept everything that you're doing and everything that has happened and will happen as a decision. Or no, you don't have to, but if you don't, then you're giving that to somebody else. All right, if you don't decide for yourself, somebody else has to decide. That's just the nature of the universe. Everything happens with a decision. And if you're comfortable giving yourself away and giving away the ability to make a decision, then by all means, do that. But what you're doing is you're giving away your own personal definition of happiness to whatever is out there in the universe that you're so focused on. And because you're so hyper fixated on that, you don't recognize how that's actually draining your happiness. All right? You don't recognize how you've structured your life in a way where it's destructive to yourself. Wellness is an intentional set of decisions to live an ideal lifestyle. An ideal. What ideas do you have about the life that you want to live? What do you think about when you ask yourself, what do I want to be today? Can you look in the mirror and say that's who you are? It's okay if not, but you have to decide that you are going to be the difference maker from point A to point B. You're going to be the one to get you from here to there, your actual self to your ideal self. And you have to do that by making an intentional decision, not just one decision, but a consistent set of decisions throughout your life so that you get the results that you want to get. Now, that can get really confusing for people. I've made it really simple. In my book, The Moment of Clarity Wellness Journal, I teach wellness from the 8 dimensions of wellness model, which basically gives you a framework to categorize all of these sets of decisions so that it's not as hard as trying to decipher the universe without a translator. This book is your translator. And it's also a guided workbook toward journaling. All you have to do is practice introspection. In the next video, we're going to go deeper into dimensional wellness and exactly what that spans. But for right now, what I want you to focus on is I want you to focus on deciding and defining what that ideal lifestyle is. I want you to take a step back and I want you to recognize what sets of decisions you've been making up to this point. And I want you to realize where your intentions have been. Once you recognize where your intentions have been, you can direct your attention to where it needs to be, and your intentions will follow. But you have to do the inner work yourself. If you need help doing the inner work, like, follow, share, comment, click the link in the bio, get yourself a copy. I'm gonna see you on the next video. This is day 5 of the Public Speaking Challenge. Peace out.